What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of NASCAR DFS preview with the Sports Chief. I'm your host, AustYn, so I'm going to try to guide you through here, and hopefully I can give you some good information as far as making your DraftKings lineup for this week. So we're at week 12 of the NASCAR season. Season's picking up along. We're a third of the after this race, it'll be a third away there. Excuse me. So we're at Kansas Speedway, which is a 1.5 mile high-speed track. Kind of reminds you, it's a unique track. It's kind of like a Kentucky mixed with a Homestead and a Texas, kind of like that. Especially with this new aero package, it's going to be interesting to see how the races unfold. In making my lineup this week, I found something very interesting. I did something I haven't did in a while, and hopefully you'll find that out here in a second. But listening to a lot of driver chatter, it's going to be interesting to see how passing works. If cars are going to be staying up front quite a bit, if there's going to be a lot of maneuvering throughout the pack. We'll see. You know, the racing has been a little different. Now the truck race is going on. Actually, I'm recording this Friday night. So the truck race is going on right now, and it's pretty interesting to see how they're, maneuvering through the field there and how the raceability is actually. So the Digital Ally 400 will be coming at you tomorrow night at 7:30. Or tonight if you're watching on Saturday. So let's just go ahead and get it. Let's see what the Sports Chief's doing here for our DraftKings lineup. Last week we actually won a little bit, so hopefully we can keep that good luck going, help you out. So here we go. As you're looking at your lineups here, of course your top price guys are Kyle Busch starting in 13th, Martin Truex Jr., who won last week, who we actually had in our lineup at Dover, at 11-4. Chase Elliott at 11, which is pretty highly priced for Chase. Kevin Harvick at 10-6, and Joey Logano round out your 10K guys, and Brad Keselowski's actually sub 10K this week. Pretty sure he's been over 10 for the past few weeks. Yeah, actually all year. So this is the first time he's below that. Pretty amazing. So what you're seeing here, what we want to go with, excuse me, I kind of scrolled down there. I listened to qualifying on the radio, and I listened to a lot of the driver chatter to see how they felt this race was going to go. And there's one guy who I felt very confident in picking, and I was going to pick him automatically, and that's Kevin Harvick. Even though he's starting on the pole, he was the fastest as far as 10 lap averages, and even they said 15 and 20 lap averages. He was just smoking everybody, and his qualifying lap was really fast. I think this is the kind of race where he's liable. I think it's 267 laps. He's liable to lead close to 200. I think he's just going to dominate. Fords typically run well here anyway. The Stewart-Haas cars look like they're hooked up, starting in the top four starting spots, with Harvick, then Almirola, Boyer, and Suarez. So definitely going with Kevin Harvick there as my pick. He's I think he's the best driver here at this track, average finish wise. He's won here 3 times. This is just one of his better tracks. Him and Jimmy have won there quite a bit. We'll see if I go with Jimmy. But scrolling down through here, Joey Logano starting in 20th. That's going to be an attractive starting spot for a lot of people. We'll see how many people go with him. Brad Keselowski actually in 9th is pretty good, and Kyle Busch in 13th. There's a lot of other guys a little cheaper that you can go with. Another guy, for some reason, that's been intriguing to me when I was listening to qualifying, was David Reagan. Like, he's starting in 33rd. Probably won't finish that well, but, he could stay out of trouble, maybe get a top 25. Austin Dillon in 22nd. I got to go with my Stewart-Haas guys here. This is the first time I've ever did this, but I'm going with Almirola and Clint Boyer, 1, 2, and 3. I just feel like looking at fantasy points from a fantasy points perspective, these guys are going to run fast laps on the track, and they're going to be burning the track up. So they're liable to get 20 or 30 fastest laps and probably get a top 5 finish. I think it's going to be tough to pass. I think once you get that clean air, and they're going to stay out in front, and they've just got fast cars. They were really fast in 10 lap averages, and I have no shame picking those guys. Hey, I think they're going to get top 10s no matter what. And I'm just looking for a solid finish. To me, I'm going off of pretty much a boomer bust strategy, picking Harvick, but I feel like I could have backup if Almirola or Boyer. I think if Harvick falls out, one of those guys is going to pick up the slack. I feel very confident in that. And those three guys, let alone, could win this race, all three of those guys. So I'm going with all three. Probably won't go Suarez at 8 just because of the starting spot there. And I don't know that Suarez, he's not really that great at Kansas historically. So I will not be going that route. Now I've got an average salary of $7,600. I'm going to look towards the bottom. Some guys that qualified good, like Bubba Wallace qualified 12th, and it's going to be interesting to see how he runs here. Michael McDowell said he thought he had a pretty fast car. Corey LaJoie qualified 24th, pretty good. I'm actually going to go David Reagan. David Reagan last year got like a top 20 finish here. He was pretty slow, just to be honest with you, in practice. But $5,500 for David Reagan. He'd get a top 25. That's 8+ points. Look, hey, if he gets like 30 fantasy points or 25, that's a win for me. And I'm wanting to take that risk. I'm going with that. So going with David Reagan. Another guy who I really like is kind of in this fold here. So Ryan Newman starting in a pretty attractive spot at 28th. I really wanted to go Chris Buescher at 27. Austin Dillon's in 22nd. Austin Dillon's actually pretty fast here at Kansas career-wise. He's like a 16th place finish or so in the Cup Series. But in the Xfinity Series, he averages a top 10. And also in the Truck Series, he averages a top 10. More like a top 8 or something. So I really look for Austin Dillon to get like a top 15 finish, and I think he'll run pretty solid. I think he'll just be hanging around there. His speeds were good enough to the point where I'm like, I think I want to go with him, and I don't think he'll be that highly picked. So I'm going with Austin Dillon, and that leaves me with $9,800. Now here was a spot where it was tough for me. Okay, because you're looking, I've already eliminated Suarez. Jimmy is starting in 18th. Very good spot. Historically, one of the best at Kansas, won 3 times. Kyle Larson starting in 8th. He got a 3rd place finish last week at Dover. Looks like he's turning the corner. Eric Jones in 11th. He's just pretty much solid anywhere. Denny Hamlin 17th. Denny is actually kind of slow in practice, so I don't know if Denny will be much of a factor. Ryan Blaney driving a Ford. The only one of these guys that are Ford drivers. And then Kurt Busch, who's just had an outstanding year. I believe he's been priced at $10K, but not last week. But anyway, he's interesting to look at. But Ryan Blaney, to me, starting in 19th in the body armor number 12 car. He was talking about his setup. He thinks he's got a really good race setup, very good handling car. I think he can crank out a top 10, and he'll get a lot of spots for me. So I think that's how I'm going to do my lineup. So I'll clean it up here. Go over what I'm going with. Kevin Harvick, 10-6. Think he's going to dominate. He is my pick to win this race. 100+ laps led. Just big-time points for fastest laps and everything. Second price driver, Ryan Blaney, 9,300. I feel a top 10 coming on. He's pretty solid here at Kansas. I look for him to possibly complete for the victory. I mean, it's not far-fetched. He's a Ford, and I wanted to go with a lot of Fords today. Clint Boyer at 8,500. Clint's at a home track. He's not really that great here, but statistically average finish-wise, he's like one of the top 10 drivers here as far as the current field goes. So I like Clint Boyer. They're starting in 3rd. Could win the race. I think he'll get a top 5. He's got a fast car, so I look for him to run a lot of fastest laps, things of that nature. Get some bonus points in there. Eric Almirola, possible winner, 8,100. I like him for this week. Austin Dillon, starting in 22nd. I look for a top 15 finish for Dillon. All of these guys I think will get in the top 15, and that's I feel very confident, and that's why I'm going with those guys. And then David Reagan, hopefully he's starting in a lot lower position than he normally does, and I think he can hang around there. Hopefully he can find a little bit more speed than what they've been showing, and he can pass some of these guys. I think you're going to see a decent amount of spins. I'm not going to say it's going to be a caution fest or anything, but I think you'll see a lot of guys up front that may wreck, that are driving the wheels off a little bit. So that's our lineup for the Sports Chief. Harvick, Blaney, Boyer, Almirola, Dillon, and Reagan. So there you have it. That's our Digital Ally 400 preview. look forward to the Saturday night race at 7:30. Tune in for that. Go check us out on Twitter at the Sports Chief. Also on the World Wide Web, thesportschief.com, Instagram, same kind of deal, the Sports Chief handle. So, got any DFS questions? Just hit us up. We're all about winning here at the Sports Chief. We won last week, so let's keep this winning attitude going. Hope you have a good night and good race day.